White ribbon goes into liquidation. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, I'm Florian Heise here, and welcome to another episode of Heise Says. I've got my afternoon stein of coffee, and I received a message. Someone shared with me the news that White Ribbon has gone into liquidation. Now, White Ribbon are a domestic violence advocacy or awareness charity, I would say. And before we get into this article, I just want to make a few things clear. I am a firm believer in women's agency. I believe that they are actors in all aspects of their life, and the research I've conducted, I find the narrative where the media is putting forward that men are the only perpetrators of intimate partner violence to be ludicrous, utterly ludicrous. Because we have a look here, Canadian National Survey, 1988, severity of assault, minor assault, perpetrator, 17.8% women, 23.3%. 17.8% men, 23.3% women. Canadian General Social Survey, 2005, the overall rate. Perpetrator, men, 7%, women, 8%. British Crime Survey, 99, men, 4.2, women, 4.1. National Comorbidity Study, 2001, men, 17.4, women, 17.7. Minor severity, 6.5. Women, 6.2. So you can see here, and I will link to this, these are all examples of different papers showing symmetry in the gender of the perpetrators. Okay? Guys, this is not just one party acting on another. And that is why the fact that there is such a bias in the provision of services towards one gender and another that frankly is shocking. It is really shocking here in Australia. Now there is a movie, a documentary I'd like to call your attention to if you haven't watched it. This is The Red Pill, a feminist journey into the men's rights movement. And it is in many ways quite a depressing look into the men's rights movement, but it is something I encourage you all to look at if you're not familiar with this video. Or this documentary. You can get it from Amazon, you can get it on, I think, iTunes. I bought it to support them. I don't know if they actually managed to get it in cinemas here in Australia, but I would highly recommend that you look at it. So, guys, before we jump into the article, if you're supportive of getting message out there and a contrarian view to a lot of the stuff we see in the media, I'd like you to share this channel, subscribe and like, and get the word out there. Because the narrative that it is just in domestic violence, that it's simply men perpetrating against women, needs to be addressed. Because there are a lot of men there that are victims and are getting absolutely no support. Now, several months ago, I spoke to a group up in Jeremiah House, up in Bundaberg, and they were struggling to get government funding to establish a service for men. So men who are fleeing from a domestic violence situation, right now if they flee with their children will get taken off them and they'll be put into a shelter. There's no actual place where a man can go with his kids to escape from domestic violence in the entire country. And the boys there in Bundy, I spoke to them, they're having a fun run later in the year in Ipswich to raise some more money, but they're working hard to get it off the ground. But it doesn't exist, and a lot of people don't realize that. So let's have a look at White Ribbon going into liquidation. Now, domestic violence charity White Ribbon has gone into liquidation, citing concerns over the organization's future sustainability. In a statement today, White Ribbon said it had appointed insolvency firm Worrells to liquidate the company. And there's a few other things we need to think about White Ribbon, because they do not believe that it's a bilateral issue, or they're not concerned with men's advocacy at all as victims. Not at all. I noticed that when I encountered them first at I think a property council event or some swanky dinner here in Brisbane, a function that I was invited to, and they were charity, having really expensive stuff. People were with a lot more money than me were showing off, bidding for these tickets to things, and thousands of dollars were getting thrown around the table, and to show off, to support White Ribbon. And it came out, because they're a charity, and this is the data here of where all their money's coming from, 6 million. And over 55% of it is going just to their employees' remunerations. So, you know, are they an effective charity if they're raising all this money and spending more than half of it to compensate their staff? That's very, very inefficient. Insanely inefficient. So all these people are feeling good and they're paying another C-level executive to have a posh house. And I think people are starting to wake up to that. They're starting to go, you know what? Yeah, nah, I've had enough. So White Ribbon Australia has been proud to serve alongside so many dedicated partner organisations, grassroots communities and government in the important work of ending men's violence against women. See here how they're stating it. They're not saying, you know, we want to. I would argue every sane person would want to end intimate partner violence, not just men's violence against women. It's intimate partner violence. And you have to remember it's bilateral. Both parties can partake in it. It's not a gendered issue. I've shown you a page of research here from the 80s up until now that confirms that position I put forward. But it seems to be, it's not the popular opinion. And now the tinfoil hat I'm putting on is because, you know, maybe this type of organization here and where all of this comes from, okay, all of this comes from fits a particular narrative. Because what's the demographic that prefers the stability and security of government jobs? Maybe you can let me know that one in the comments. So we want to acknowledge those communities around Australia who have been part of the White Ribbon movement, from the dedicated staff, ambassadors, advocates and committees to schools and teachers, sports club, workplaces and individual members of the community. I've had several people that have reached out and let me know that they were frustrated that the organisation they were in was supporting White Ribbon. This organisation that has a gendered view on intimate partner violence. And I don't know, is it perhaps this is another thing, people are just exposed to one side of the argument, they won't look at the research because frankly it's uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable until you start thinking, well, I've got a son, I don't want him to live in a shit world. What would happen if something happened to your son and they were in that situation? Or until you meet a man that's actually gone through it. So for those who have already planned for White Ribbon Day, we encourage you to continue with those plans alongside the international White Ribbon movement, continuing to raise your voice. Former White Ribbon Chief Executive Tracy McLeod Howell told The Australian in November 2018 it was struggling financially. Well, yes, because everyone found out that most of the money was just going to pay people, just to pay staff. I don't think they had one shelter or anything. I mean, come on. And here the Bundy boys are struggling. The organisation is certainly facing some financial challenges. I had made proposals and plans and absolutely capacity to address this. Regardless, due to the poor cultural fit, my capacity was never able to be tested due to my early departure. But there was never any indication at board level that I wasn't up to the job regarding the financial situation either. As of today, the charity was $840,000 in the red, with expenses of $6.9 million. Employees made up 57.6% of the expenses. White Ribbon has also suffered public controversy after it removed a statement that all women should have complete control over their reproductive and sexual health. The statement was reinstated after complaints that suggested that White Ribbon did not support women's rights to an abortion. White Ribbon also faced claims that it is only lip service support and that it suggested wearing a ribbon would be enough to fight domestic violence. Well, I mean, it's like wearing those what would Jesus do badge things or wristbands. I think South Park did a whole episode on it. They did a whole episode on these scores that you can wear and people make money off it. I mean, come on. So social media delights in White Ribbon's demise. Well, I hope it's a bit of a wake-up call to people to be careful with where you make your charitable donations and how you do your public virtue signaling. You know, gleeful Australians took to Twitter to delight in White Ribbon's announcement, claiming that the huge charity hoarded both domestic violence funding and awareness. Okay, so the people just jealous. Are they just jealous? Worse than not having a positive impact itself, White Ribbon took attention from groups and organisations who do the things that work. Gave men cookies for doing nothing useful at best and being sexist perpetrators and misogynists at worst. I don't know who this Emily Mayo is. Maybe someone can enlighten me. But Okay, I'm betting the fact... I'd put money on that she's not critical of the fact that they are not, that they don't have, that the fact that White Ribbon has a gendered take on it. You know, I'll just bet. Others suggest that the charity was more interested in appearing to care about domestic violence than actually doing anything to do it. Well, you know, I mean, come on, guys. It's a lot easier to do that. However, not all agree. It was badly mismanaged for a long time and had some very public failings, but it still had many brilliant people working for it and was doing good work in community schools, wrote Jess Hill, the author of Domestic Abuse Exposé, See What You Made Me Do. Well, there you go. I mean, there's no mention here. There's no mention here that it's an organization that was not in line with the prevailing research that domestic violence, intimate partner violence, is a bilateral issue. They are arguing that it is a gendered issue. Okay? Now, reality, science, and research does not align with that, guys. It does not align with that, okay? It's that simple. And right now our funding is heavily skewed to one gender, and maybe, just maybe, that could have something to do with why the suicide rates and a lot of the issues with regards to men's health are not being accounted for. Anyway, guys, thank you for joining me for this episode. Please like, share, and subscribe. If you'd like to help me produce this and other content, I have a subscribe star and a Patreon that you can help support. And guys, let me know in the comments how you feel about White Ribbon. Did you realize, if you go into a function and bid on something, did you realize that they didn't provide any acknowledgement that men could be victims of this? Have you had any male friends that have gone through these struggles? And have you had to support them? You know, have you spoken to blokes that have tried to reach out for help and have gotten nothing from no organizations? And how do you feel about over 55% of the donations going to a charity going to staff? I mean, you know, those C-level people, they need to be treated well. Anyway, guys, thanks for watching. Like, share, and subscribe, and I will see you later. Take care.